Today's podcast is with Matthew Laird. Matthew is on the board of TABVAR, and TABVAR is the Association of Bow Valley Area Rock Climbers. They are the very kind folks who help to fund the refurbishment and the building of new rock climbing routes here in the Bow Valley. I'll add a link in this episode's description to their website where you can donate as little or as much as you want to help support them. This conversation offers an insight into what it really takes to build the routes that you and I get to enjoy. Now, a massive thank you to those of you who already subscribe to the show, such as Elaine Kittredge, and to those of you who are new here and want to support the podcast, the best way to do so is by subscribing. Now on to the episode. So TABVAR, what is it? What do you do, and what's your involvement with it?
Sure. When you say, what do I do you mean me specifically, or what does TABVAR do?
Both.
Okay, cool. So TABVAR stands for the Association of Bow Valley and Area Rock Climbers. It was thought up and put together in, I think, 1993 or 1994 by John Jones. He unfortunately just passed away 2 or 3 years ago. And in short, what it is a bolt fund. So John Jones and some of the guys who were developing rock climbs or putting up these rock climbs realized that they were spending a lot of their own money going out and buying the hardware and building these rock climbs the mountains just for everyone else to enjoy, and kind of said, well, what if everyone chips in a little bit of money and then we're not fronting the bill for all of it, kind of thing. So how it exists now is people chip in money, we're a nonprofit, and then those funds get distributed to route developers throughout the Bow Valley. I guess that's what TABVAR does. What I do for TABVAR is all of us that volunteer on the board wear a lot of different hats, and it's kind of whenever an issue comes up, whoever has the capacity or the time or the knowledge to tackle certain issues just takes something and runs with it. I got involved because I wanted to help make people more aware of what it is we do. I know when I started climbing, I took it for granted a little bit that, all you have to do is buy shoes and a harness and then everything else is free. It's like someone's already paid for the hardware to be in the wall and you can just go enjoy it. And I was a little naive, and the more I learned, it actually costs a lot of money to put up some of these climbs. So if everyone kicks in a little bit, then it can go a long way.
I think a lot of people have that attitude. Like, I think I certainly did. Like, less so as I get older, but, as you say, you would just buy rock climbing shoes and a harness and off you go.
Yeah.
And you can do that with, like, a lot of sports. So, like, even I've been to clubs when I was a kid, like a running club, and I never once, like, thought about, like, who organizes this? Like, who puts all together? Who, like, gets the uniforms or whatever it is? You just do take it for granted.
Yeah, and I was certainly the exact same way, right? You show up and it's like, oh, this is already here. I just get to, tie it and go.
And do you think that the community is quite good at contributing towards it?
I think we're in a weird spot now where years ago, and especially when TABVAR was formed, the community was a lot smaller. So there was just, you had to get the word out to less people. But as climbing grows, you have to reach all those new climbers. And years ago, people would first and foremost climb outside and then climb inside in a gym as a means to train. But now people sometimes just don't leave the gym, or that's where they start, and they don't have that kind of foundation building block of the different associations that exist to help fund or do some of these things that happen in the outdoors, whether it's access or trail maintenance or route development or things like that. So it's just, how do you reach these people that start in a gym or might not know about us?
And do you think that, I guess Calgary would be less than Banff and Canmore, but do you think that because of the nature of the towns here, and what I mean by the nature is like the transient nature, excuse me, that there's quite a lot of people come for like 6 months, like a year or two.
Yeah.
Like, would they want to invest money when they're like, I'm just here for like a short time, not a long time? But they're ultimately, as I would assume that the sport is growing itself. They're getting to use it just as much as the people like yourself and Sarah and all these other people who live here long term.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's maybe 6 to 1, because how many of those people are seeking out living here or working here seasonally just to enjoy the rock climbing? And if that's where they're coming here, maybe they do want to contribute a little bit. Like I know I have a trip coming up in the winter, and when we go overseas, I plan to contribute to the Bolt Fund in that area, because I'll be utilizing the infrastructure that they've put time and money into.
That's such a classic thing where, like, when you get involved in whatever something is, like when you then start to go to places that has it as well, you start to contribute, sorry, just like you're saying.
Totally, yeah.
And do you think, so how do you think of route setting? Do you think of it as like a hobby, like a job, a craft, like, what is it for you?
I think as soon as it becomes a job, it's not fun. So I try to not think of it like that. It's definitely like a hobby or a passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And no one's forcing me to do it. I do it because I enjoy it. But I think it's the other thing that would be great if people understood, is just how much work goes into to developing routes. So
could you tell me, what does a day in the life of you, like you're going to a location, you're going to set a route, like what does that day actually look like?
It kind of depends where along the process. Sometimes it's literally just walking around the forest or the mountains, or like, oh, hey, I saw this like little brim of rock over here that maybe I could walk out there, and no one's looked at that. And you're just walking to areas to see if there's anything worthwhile to develop. Other times I've seen something from the highway and be like, that thing looks cool. So you hike in, and maybe you stand at the base, maybe you go to the top and rappel down. Potentially you're at a crag and there's a gap where the climbs are, and say, oh, there's nothing 20 feet from here. There could be a climb here, and you start seeing holds. So I think the first step is kind of the uncovering if there's actually anything there. I've gone for a ton of hikes and looked at stuff and just thought, no, this isn't worth my time. It's not good enough, or there's nothing really here. Or you rappel down something in that, and that's not great. I'm not going to dig into it. Mm-hmm. And then when you take the next step, you kind of, I guess, then have to decide, do you start on the ground with a drill in your hand and climb and drill at the same time as you go up, which can be a lot more difficult or scary because there's no set path. You are setting it as you go. Or do you hike around to the top of the cliff and come in from the top and rappel down and kind of figure it all out?
I actually thought it was the former until you just said that. Like so I was going to ask you, because I was like, how do you set a route? Because one of the other questions I was going to ask you, which I feel like you may have just answered, is, so I assumed that to be a route setter, you have to be like the best climber because you're the one climbing the route to set it. But you've just alluded to the fact that you can rappel down and set a route. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, you can make it really easy on yourself. And I think that is a bit of a misunderstanding. You want people that are some of the best climbers, and some people that are intermediate, and some people that are novice. And then that way you get routes that are being developed for all different skill levels.
Yeah, because I guess if someone was like top of the game and they're setting all the routes, they might not have like a beginner's mindset, and therefore like something that they set that they think would be easy to that. Like even if they're thinking about it, they're like, yeah, a beginner would be able to do this, not realizing that they're now decades into their rock climbing or like climbing life. And I remember when I was a snowboard instructor really briefly in Norway, and that's what they said to us. They were like, you have to ride like a beginner if you're teaching a beginner, because a lot of people are visual learners, which is kind of different to what we're talking about. But their point was like, a beginner needs to see it like a beginner. And if you get people of like that level helping you to build it, or they themselves are building it, it'll be, definitely be helpful.
Yeah, you're bang on there. And it's like, when me or somebody else goes to develop a route, are they going to develop it in a style that works for them or works for everybody? And there's no right or wrong reason. And what I mean by that is, there's no right or wrong way. And what I mean by that is, if they think a part is really easy, are they not going to put in a lot of bolts of protection because it's not a big deal to them? Or are they going to look at it and say, no, I want everyone to enjoy this and feel comfortable. So even though it's easy for me, I'm going to put in a couple more bolts so that somebody that's not quite as skilled or as strong can still feel safe or make the climb kind of for everybody.
And with the TABVAR team, is it like quite a small team, or is it like, how does it work? Is it a case of someone like you, or just like name any climber in the community who isn't associated with TABVAR? Could they just be like, hey, I saw a route, I want to build it, can I get the funds? Or is it like a selection, or is there just like a team of people who, these are the people that do it?
So anyone can go do it.
Okay.
We don't police it. We don't make the standards. Most of the stuff you can just go to the hardware store and buy. It's a little bit specialized. If you go on the TABVAR website, we state what we suggest you buy. So we don't set the standard because you don't have to do what we say or what TABVAR says, but we kind of say like, hey, this is what we think you should be using. So at the start of the year, we have a bulk hardware order. So we'll kind of pool everyone's money together and you take that money and try and buy in bulk. So rather than like somebody buying 10 bolts and somebody buying 30 and someone buying 20, we'll just buy, 1,000 or 2,000 at once and try and get the best price we can with that buying power. And then we distribute all the order. So people kind of pay for it up front. And then I think it's usually at the end of July or August, people submit what they did. And then we kind of look at those submissions and see what we can fund.
Okay, so it's like a post, I don't know what the word is, but it's like they do the thing and then they would get the funds for it?
Exactly.
Okay, touche.
Yeah.
Is that because, not to simplify it, but is that because if it's like really shit, you'll just be like, we're not funding it? So.
Sometimes, yeah. Like we'll try and go out and climb as many of the things as we can to see that, like, is this worth funding? Is it worth taking somebody's hard-earned donated money and funding that? And maybe some of that stuff, maybe someone did not use the hardware that we suggested that we deemed reliable. And in that case, then it won't be funded.
And have you claimed stuff where you're like, this isn't the best? Or maybe not the best, right? But you've claimed something you're like, well, yeah, no, have you claimed something you're like, no, this isn't good? Yeah,
and that's kind of like a double-edged sword, like, because the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, you could climb something and say, this is awesome, and I could climb it and be like, no, I don't really like the movement, or the style, or the setting. It wasn't for me. So that's like a maybe not a fair way to look at it almost, but does it meet like the hardware standard, and is it reliable hardware?
And have you claimed anything that like a bolt has just like pulled right out, or like anything?
Fortunately, that's like very rare.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Especially here, like we have a pretty great standard and a great community where if there are some old bolts that need to be replaced, but the community's pretty good about going out and doing that. I know, like, traveling internationally and seeing some of the hardware in other places elsewhere in the world, it's like a little bit horrifying. And you come back here and you're like, okay, I can trust all this. It's pretty good. Yeah,
I think I had a friend who went to like Italy recently, and he did like a Via Ferrata in the Dolomites, and I mean, it was totally fine, but it was kind of funny how like the Via Ferrata specifically here in Banff is obviously owned by Norquay, and there's like there's now one in Canmore and another one further afield. But in Italy, it's kind of like you just rock up with your gear and you just go. And even though it's way more accessible, obviously, because it's not expensive, it's part of me that was like, I don't know, it just seems, maybe that's more me, my nervousness of just like not having someone like check something for a standard. I think I like the idea of like a TABVAR existing and like a Matthew existing to go and check these things.
And we can't go out and check every bolt, and accidents happen, and climbing is risky and dangerous, but it's nice to know that there is a pretty good hardware standard out here.
And so you'll go back over, will you purposely go back over old routes to check them? Or are you just like, if you're on an old route and you're climbing and you notice something a bolt's gone, you'll just come back and replace it? Or are you actively like going out to try and find them?
No, usually we kind of rely on like a bit of community data. So if someone goes out and says, hey, I noticed this is a old bolt, or it's missing, or this should be replaced. There is a form on our website where you can kind of fill out some information. And then if somebody on our board has free time, or they're going to go be in that area, then they can go out and hopefully deal with it. And not even on the board, there's just people that like the idea of fixing these old things and making them, I don't want to use the word safe because rock climbing is not safe, but restoring them, I guess, to the standard that they once were with replacing the hardware.
We have a mutual friend, and I was asking them about I was like, are there any insights or stuff I should ask you? And one of their things was, are there any like old routes that you are, wary of because of like the hardware, like going back and, seeing that it's perhaps not in good condition?
Actually, there's a lot, there's a lot, but they're not popular. And I think that's kind of a taboo subject where some people don't want to change those old routes that have a certain character because they want them to remain almost like a psychological test piece where there are maybe some bolts, but they're not the most reliable, and you kind of have to mentally show up and strap in and get through it. There's tons of stuff here that's safe and reliable, but you kind of almost want to leave some of those old things as like I said, the psychological test piece.
Is that not the same thing that they say between... Oh, I'm going to butcher this because I'm actually not much of a climber myself, but it's between like, is it like trad climbing and like, I don't want to say soloing, but anyway, the whole point is that like when you put in bolts and anchors and stuff, like the people who want to climb it like unblemished are like, you're ruining it, you're making it easy, but then you're making it more accessible for people who otherwise
totally
couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's what you have to weigh out, right? Like, is it a test piece for you to go do, or are you creating something for everybody? There's arguments for either one. And I think we have enough rock here that you can kind of have both. Yeah, we can leave some of these old things that could have hardware replaced and leave them with the old stuff because they have that certain character and mystique about them.
And see with Parts Canada, right? So we're obviously, I guess once you're in Banff and beyond to the west, when you're within the Parts Canada area, can you just like go anywhere and build a route? Or is it like, the reason I ask this question is because I work for a business in Banff and I know that there's like tons of red tape to do, and it's an outdoor venture company I work for. So, if we have a permit to hike in a certain area, we can't just like, you have to then and you want to change the sport to, I don't know, running or climbing or whatever. Like you have to get another permit for that specific activity in this specific place. Yeah. But can you, like, if you had a route that you wanted to set, can you just do it and then can you? Yeah.
So officially, like, Banff is just down the highway, but right now we're in Canmore, and in all surrounding Canmore are provincial parks. So in both the national park and the provincial park, bolting's illegal.
Oh, it is illegal?
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm confused then. So why is there so many bolts?
It's kind of that weird gray area where it's not really enforced, and we don't, as a route developer, say what we're going to do or ask for permission, just kind of go and do it, and the bolts are just there.
Wow. Yeah. Because I guess they would have no way of being able to like identify the specific person who did it.
Exactly. Yeah. And this was like a huge deal in the States in the last year where they were going to outlaw bolting completely, and it was going to be policed by the government, and there was a whole big thing about this. And thankfully it didn't go that way, but we're hoping that stays the same here in Canada. But yeah, the official stance is illegal in parks.
Wow. Yeah. So that's just totally blew my mind there.
Totally right. Yeah, not the answer you're expecting.
No, it wasn't. So I'm just thinking, so TABVAR as an organization that does this specific thing, how have they not been?
We don't know who puts the bolts in. We know who climbs it first.
Right. Okay. But then,
so when someone submits for funding,
I don't want to get you in trouble, but I'm trying to like in my own mind, I'm trying to like figure out like how, I guess I'm just like, how do they, anyway, sorry, you explain.
Yeah. So we don't know who developed the route or was the architect of it. We just, when the submissions come in, that's who climbed it first.
But then where does the money go?
To them. Yeah. You can climb the routes. Right, you just can't, it's illegal to put the metal in the wall. Right, so when you submit for funding, you submit it as, hey, I was the first person to climb or get up this thing, and that's when I'm submitting for funding.
Got you.
And when I climbed it, this is how many bolts were on it, and I think that these bolts were worth this much.
Oh wow! Right. Okay. Cool. Right. Sweet. Yeah. I follow you now. Sorry. I was like, I don't know why I was like getting.
Yeah. It's kind of like the wink and a nod type thing. Yeah.
All right, okay, cool. Well, yeah, because the reason I was asking that question was because I just know how difficult it is really to do anything in the parks.
Totally.
Right, okay, cool. So you're like wandering through the, like, I was going to say the jungle, we're not in the Amazon, the forest, and you're trying to find a route. Now, say you have found a route. What does the day, like, how does it, there's kind of two options you were saying when you can either climb it with the drill and go or like rappel down. And I was going to say, like, what does that actually look like? I know it's a really simple question, but
No, it's a good, and a lot of people don't know, and they think there's a lot of, it's like smoke and mirrors and a lot of like knowledge and skill. And the fundamentals are you have a hammer drill, you drill a hole, you put the bolt in and you tighten it down, and that's it. To install the bolt is really simple, but I think to map out the route and where it should go is kind of more the skill. So like I said, there's the two ways to do it. You start either from the ground or you rappel in from the top. So there's routes that I've developed before where I don't really know where it's going to go, but I've just thought the rock looks like quality here and we should see where it leads us. And we just step off the ground with the drill and start climbing. And then when you get scared or think you can hold on long enough, you grab the drill and hold on to the wall and drill the bolt, grab the hammer, like pound the bolt in, grab the wrench, torque it down, clip the quick draw to it, and keep on climbing until you do it all over again. And you just kind of see where you end up. And sometimes even from the ground, you have a line you're looking at and okay, I kind of know where I want to go. And that's taking on a lot more risk that way because there's the potential to fall and you have all the stuff on you. And if it gets hard, then how do you hang on while you drill? Like if you can imagine like climbing in the gym and you have a drill and a hammer and all this stuff strapped to you, like holding on while you like grab the stuff off your harness. It's a lot more difficult. And then the other option is rappelling from the top. And that way you can kind of rehearse a lot more and map out holds before you drill any bolts. So you can kind of refine stuff a lot more. So if I do something that way, I'll sometimes spend multiple days on one small section, just figuring out where the best climbing or the best rock is on that particular section and kind of like take sidewalk chalk and like map out where I want the bolts to go and then drill them all later.
Oh, wow. And the bolts, so you were saying that they're just like hammered in, there's no glue, you don't like put a thread in and screw it in, it's just...
There's two types of bolts. There's glue-in bolts and there's wedge bolts. Typically, I use wedge bolts. They're a little bit simpler. You hammer them in, and then if you almost think of it like a drywall anchor, when you tighten it down, there's like a butt end that flares up against this wedge on the inside and kind of deforms it so that it's physically impossible for it to pull out of the wall.
Right.
And then the other type of bolt is a glue-in bolt where you drill the hole, clean the hole, fill it with glue, and then put the bolt in. If you do the glue-in option, you almost have to go from the top down because you need the glue to cure before it can actually take weight. So you can't really go up and do the glue and keep reliably climbing on it.
And how deep into the rock do the bolts go?
About 3 inches, roughly.
Down, okay. Something like that?
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah.
I thought a bit more.
Yeah. It's funny though, like a lot of the work that TABVAR does is restoring these old climbs.
Okay.
And a lot of these old ones use bolts called self drives, and they're in like a couple millimeters kind of thing. God. Like you take some of those out and then they're like totally corroded and rusted, and there's only a couple threads actually like past the surface of the rock, and they're horrifying. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, like I said, we live in a good place where a lot of those are upkept and replaced to a more modern bolt.
Yeah, I did the Via Ferrata in Norquay. Have you ever done it?
I've never known.
Okay, it's really cool. Like you go up to it's not the true summit, but it's like the false summit from the ski side. And they had like, there's a bit where you go to the summit and then you come down. And obviously this is like not rock climbing at all. It's like they're using their like boats and stuff. But there was like there's a point, like a very small, short point where you like come around the face of it. And there really isn't, if the metal bars weren't there for you to hold and stand on, like it would just be nothing. Yeah. And I remember being like, how deep are they? Like I just had that whole moment of panic of like, how deep into this wall are these metal things? Yeah.
That I can't speak to. I have
no idea. I know. I mean, it's honestly awesome, and I would definitely like recommend it. But to you, it'd probably be really, not to make an assumption, but I would assume it may not be that thrilling because you're like, because there's no really rock climbing. You're really just.
It seems like a playground almost. Yeah, like monkey bars.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And
I've actually heard like a lot of corporate friends that go out there and do that for like a work retreat type thing, and they have great things to say
honestly,
about it.
It is expensive, but like, it's amazing. I worked there, which is where I did a bunch. I did them like quite a lot, but, and then so with the routes, who ultimately decides what grade the route will be?
as a developer, you can just publish it and you kind of just take a shot in the dark. And I think it's about this. Or like sometimes I'll have friends climb it and say like, hey, what do you think? I think about this. And you kind of just take a consensus. Like someone says it's a little harder. Like, okay, maybe I'll inflate the grade, or no, they think it's easier. So I'll make it slightly easier grade. But yeah, it's just kind of a feel or a vibe, I guess. It's not really scientific. And that's subject to change too, right? Like a lot of times, especially with new routes, because they haven't been climbed on a lot, if a hole breaks or something rips out of the wall, it'll be harder, right? So that's happened too, where you publish a route and people climb on it and a year or two goes by and maybe something that was really important that you needed to climb through a certain section just rips off and now it's more difficult.
Mm-hmm. And I would assume that the more it gets climbed by people, like, and people post about it, there's like, there'll be like a median that eventually comes out with like people saying it's high, people saying it's low, and then like the average is like it's a 5, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Damn, that's cool. Yeah, because I was wondering, sorry.
So there was one we put up a couple of years ago, and we just went from the ground with a drill and we kind of gave it 1 grade, and someone else just came out last year and was like, this is way easier. And it was like, yeah, it's been climbed on for 2 years and maybe cleaned up a bit, and you're not doing it with a drill and doing everything on the go. So yeah, it probably feels a bit easier now. So it's kind of like the things change and they kind of fluctuate and shake out to an average grade.
And it's the same with like the I mean, you just kind of said it, like the passage of time with regards to like people who were putting boats in or routes in the, like, I'm kind of making this up in my mind, but like the 70s, are theirs typically like, would they grade something that is easier as being harder? What am I trying to say here? Like back in the day, did they think that easier stuff to them would be quite hard to us? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's the grading scale has evolved since it was developed, basically. So like the Yosemite decimal system that starts at kind of 5.0, which is just walking on flat ground, and then slowly inflates the decimal point from 5.0 to now 5.15. It didn't always exist that way. So it only went to a certain difficulty, which is I think 5.9 for a long time. And then it slowly got harder. And a lot of guys would say, like, they didn't have the internet back then. So there's no way this is the hardest climb in the world, but it's really hard for me. But I don't want to call it 5.9 because there's got to be somebody else in the world that can climb harder than me. So I'll only call it 5.8 or 5.7 or something easier. So a lot of these old school climbs now seem like quite hard for the grade today as the grading scale grew and evolved.
Yeah, it seems like quite a subjective sport.
Totally. Yeah. So like, Yamnuska, one of the really famous climbing mountains here, you almost have to look at the climb and then the grade and the year it was done. And then you can kind of like balance out like, okay, if that's like a 5.7 from the 80s or the 70s, like it's going to be like, feel a little stout by today's standards for that grade.
I'm trying to think when you were saying that there, I was like, what other sports are so subjective in there?
The kind of thing I like about climbing too is there's not like a lot of rules. I was telling a friend a while ago, if you played hockey, you couldn't just show up to play in the Stanley Cup game. But in climbing, you could go just stand at the base of the hardest climb in the world and start touching the holds. No one's stopping you. There's no barrier to entry like that. And in like a rule book, like you have to do all these things first. You can kind of just go on with it and figure it out for yourself. But as such, too, it doesn't have these like very defined set rules.
Yeah, I guess the only barrier to entry is just location. Like, do you live in a place that is close to? I mean, I guess not, because that like indoor gyms as well. Yeah,
I guess it depends if you want to climb inside or outside, and if there are gyms, and then like the funding. Do you have the financial means to pay the fee to get to the gym, or have a car to get to a cliff or a mountain, and then get the shoes or the rope or whatever it takes?
And then we've kind of been chatting already about like, you know, subjectiveness and other people getting involved and yada, yada. Like, do you, when you're setting a route, do you consciously think in your mind about the people that are going to be potentially climbing it? Like, are you taking that into account?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think when you're doing that?
It's kind of why I like now doing routes starting from the top and going down, because you can check out a lot of the terrain beforehand, and then I can figure out like if it's only going to be a certain amount of difficulty, I should develop it in a way that everybody of that difficulty or below can climb it and enjoy it, rather than, okay, I know it's a certain difficulty that's not that difficult to me, so I'm just going to put in bolts where I feel they're necessary. So if I climbed it, I'll be fine. But if somebody less strong climbs it, they'll be scared or terrified. I'd rather not have that experience for other people. If I'm already there with all this stuff, I'll just kind of make it so everyone can have a good day out and enjoy it.
And you must have such a unique, what am I trying to say here? Like such a unique awareness of like rock climbing, you know, and I mean that in the sense of having to think so intentionally about other people's experiences and how other people would view it, you know. It must like you and other people who do set routes, you must have like a deeper understanding to a degree of rock climbing as a whole, as opposed to someone who has a very subjective experience as I am a rock climber, I can do 510s or name a thing. This is my niche and this is my pattern. This is my skill set. This is my way of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like a route setter, you have to have such a broad awareness of the whole thing.
Yeah. Like before I started rock climbing, I had been doing it for 8 or 9 years and not just kind of off and on, like kind of every weekend, a couple days after work, like quite intensely. So having climbed a lot, you kind of realize like, you know, what can make a good route, what can make a bad route. And then when I develop, I try and have the mindset, if you're coming up here and have never touched anything before, what would make sense to somebody never being on this? So for example, like if I know like, oh, if you reach around here, there's like a weird hidden pocket. And if you grab that pocket, that allows you to clip this bolt. But like if you can't find that weird pocket, then you'd be like, how do I clip this? Why is it here? And I try and take those things into consideration. So it's kind of makes sense to everybody who hasn't been there before.
Yeah, you'd have to have such a, I don't think like curious is the right word I'm looking for, but you have to have, I mean, just say like such a curiousness to explore every possible avenue within the climb itself.
Yeah.
Not, as you say, just be like, I can reach this bit that you can't see. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think, are you someone who, are you like that in life and everything, do you think? Or do you think you've developed this as a skill because of the getting into TABVAR and the route setting?
Even if I wasn't involved in TABVAR, I'd still probably be that way about the climbing. As part of my regular life, I don't think I'm that way. I'm just that passionate about climbing where, and the nice thing is too, having TABVAR available helps to develop routes in a way like that. And what I mean by that is, so something, to the same example, something was going to be easy for me, if I had to financially pay for it myself, I probably wouldn't put in that many bolts because it'd be way cheaper for me. And I could do it and do the climb with less of a financial commitment. But knowing that TABVAR will help fund it, it's kind of like, well, if they're going to pay for some of the extra bolts and then everybody can enjoy it, why not develop it in that type of way?
It's funny now that, because obviously TABVAR put on these events and I was at the Mellow Film Tour. I now feel like I'm in some underground illegal
yeah.
Because I was like, now I'm thinking, I was like, I was hanging out with all these like guys just doing like all this illegal stuff. But, you know, I think obviously as you were saying, what do you hope so I was chatting about there, like, what are you thinking about, when you're setting routes and stuff, and you're obviously like making it aware that what is easy to you may not be easy to someone else. Like, what would you ultimately want someone to experience who does one of these routes that have been set by you or by, you know, the wider TABVAR community?
It's tough to say the wider TABVAR community because everyone has their own style and ethic. And I know some people develop in a way where they want it to be really exciting or maybe even scary. And to some people, maybe fear translates to fun. Maybe not at the moment, but you get home, you're like, that was an exciting, memorable day. And I will remember that. And some people might develop routes in that style where they want it to be a little bit bold. But for myself personally, like, I know I got to climb a lot of these cool things where you feel safe, but you're still maybe pushing the boundary a little bit where it's still exciting and engaging, but it's like that nice kind of threading the line where you still get the excitement, but it's like, okay, I know this isn't like boring.
So how do you think you balance that? Like, how do you balance your creativeness with building and the safety aspect of it, I guess?
I think that helps with rehearsing some of the climbs before you start putting in bolts. So you can think about them like, okay, if I fall here, am I going to hit a ledge, or am I going to fall back far enough? Maybe I'll hit even, there's a lot of forest around here. You hit a tree, or the rock is kind of crumbly here, so there's a good chance a rock will break. And if it breaks here, how far am I going to fall? Am I going to hit something else? So I think as long as you're not going to get hurt, that helps temper the fear a little bit. And then you can still make it a little bit exciting with, depending on how far out you space the bolts. And another thing is we have some variable rock quality. I don't know how much climbing you've done outside here, but you can have really, really good rock and you can kind of put a bolt in wherever. And sometimes you're like hammering around with a hammer to see or hear the rock quality. And it's really bad. So you can't put bolts in sometimes exactly where you want them. So there's a little bit of leeway with that too.
So when you're hammering around, like, and you're saying I assume you're listening to the rock quality. Yeah. What is a good rock sound and what's a bad rock?
Yeah. It's funny if like people listen to this are like, how does a rock sound? Yeah. It's like, like really quick once you've done it a while, but you tap and you're like, it sounds kind of like hollow and has like more of a low pitched ring or echo to it. And if you tap something and it's a really high pitched ring or doesn't give that empty thud, like that's a good piece of rock. And you can kind of feel it when you're drilling the hole too. The drilling will take longer if the rock is high quality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've gone to a sourdough. What's the word I'm looking for? A sourdough hobby recently.
Yeah, baking. Yeah.
So the last 3 weekends I've made sourdough, and like it says to tap the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And like the first couple, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like,
yeah.
And then the third one I made, because it says it's supposed to be hollow. I think it's like a hollow sound you want. And anyway, the third time, which was Saturday, I was tapping it. I was like, this is the fucking noise.
Yeah. Okay.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, this is the noise.
But it makes sense, right? Like you're just building that like data set, right? First time you tap, you're like, I don't know what's, and then you get like second time, you're like, okay, it sounded a little different. Like third time, now you have like 3 sets of sounds. So
and also, sorry, you were saying about it as well when you drill it because it takes longer. Like also, like when I cut it open, I could see it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this actually
that's what you want.
It's like a little bit doughy.
Yeah.
But I would assume that the harder it is that just because I'm trying to explain this with my lack of education? Is that just because the rock is denser? Not denser, but like it's. That's
almost a question for geologists. I don't know with limestone why. Yeah, totally. Yeah, get one of the former people on the podcast back there. Yeah.
We'll cut to her right now and she'll answer.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey, Richard and Matt, I heard you were curious about what makes some rocks so good and some rocks so crappy. Well, bear with me because we're dealing with geologic time here and a lot happens to sediments and rock over eras of time. You see, it all begins with the depositional environment. The limestones around here were deposited in ancient oceans, and depending on the energy and depth of the water, that might mean it was teeming with organisms with hard calcareous skeletons, which will eventually be preserved in the rock and result in a highly porous rock. Or this could look like a very boring calcite mud that just has almost no porosity in it. So the depositional environment is going to dictate what the rock will be comprised of, but then you have to consider the lithification or rock forming process, which may result in a strong cement forming in between your grains, or the matrix or the cement of that rock might be weak or easily soluble. After that, we still have to consider orogenesis, or mountain building, which compresses the rock and creates weaknesses in it. So the answer, ultimately, is that it's complicated, but some rock just gets the shit end of the stick and is comprised of porous material, and then it gets poorly cemented, then it's all broken up by mountain building and becomes preferentially weathered by the waters of today. And that's your rock that's going to really, really suck and probably sound very hollow when you hit it with a hammer. On the other hand, other rocks get luckier and they have low porosity, they have strong cement, and they just don't end up getting messed up by mountain building. So, yeah, that's that. Hope that helps.
So the right, okay, cool. So the rock, I'm just trying to process that in my mind. Right, okay, cool. And I guess, I mean, I'm trying to understand it. I wonder if it's just because there's more like potential air in the rock, or
there are spots where, it can be like even hollow behind the rock that you see.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can just be weaker rock where it's kind of, we could refer to it as chossy, which is kind of just a slang term, but like just broken up or crumbly or not as quality. So for example, there was a route I was developing not long ago where there was a whole pitch where I thought I wanted this climbing to go, and it looked totally fine. And then when I start tapping around with a hammer, there's like huge sections of hollow rock behind it, but you would never know unless you kind of tap around on it. It looked from the surface totally quality, but it was kind of like an onion where it has layers to it, and that top layer looked okay, but the layer behind it was just shit. So it's kind of like, okay, I have to figure out somewhere else to go.
Yeah, and I guess we were also talking about like balancing like the creativity with the safety, but when I was thinking about it, I guess it's also quite good because you were saying that there's like different people have different risk tolerances, so someone might want to make something purposely more bold because that excites them, and then obviously you get people who are perhaps more risk averse, etc. But actually, because you have that kind of group of people, like it would actually create quite a good, I don't know, range.
Diverse.
Thank you.
Yeah, like then it takes all types, right?
Yeah. And it's not just everything just like super safe. Not like the other stuff isn't safe, sorry. Yeah. It's not just that something is like very, just say easy compared to something that's a little bit more like exciting.
Yeah, you get something that's bland or something that's really exciting, and you get that whole range. And that's kind of the nice thing about where we live too, is there's so many different types of adventures, even just within rock climbing you can have. There is the really, really exciting psychological test pieces. You can just go have a nice day clipping bolts and feel safe.
What's your like psychological test if you're on a climb?
I used to be a lot more bold. And then as I've got older, I think I've toned down quite a bit, where it's kind of like there's less and less reason for it.
Yeah. Sense your own mortality.
Yeah. And I think maybe when you're younger, because you haven't lived as long, or I had not had any injuries then, it's kind of like maybe you feel invincible a little bit, or maybe you have that idea of, I could get hurt, but will it happen to me? Or like, how bad could it really be? And then if you get injured, you know what it's like, and the recovery and the trauma, it takes on like a whole different perspective.
So our mutual friend Sarah actually, when I asked her about you, she was like, you should ask him if he has any accident climbing stories that would be comfortable to share. Well, actually, she said, because she was like, she was curious if you had any takeaways from like an accident that you had.
Yeah. So did he get any backstory for it, or
no, she didn't. Okay. No, there was nothing. She just said he's probably got a couple.
Yeah. So the big one is like a climbing adjacent story where I was on a vacation that was not supposed to be climbing, and we were on a beach, and there's like a 30-40 foot tall rock, and I kind of wanted to like just scramble up the rock, have a look at the beach, and maybe the surf break. I was going to go surfing later in the day potentially, and kind of like look at the wave sets, and scrambled up the rock, no problem. And on the way down, I think something broke, and I probably fell like 30 or 40 feet.
Oh, God. Like the rock broke?
Yeah.
Okay, so the rock broke and then you fell.
Yeah, and this wasn't like a climbing area. It was just a random rock on a random beach. The problem was at the bottom of the rock, it wasn't sand. It was just more like jagged callus. So I got quite hurt. I was unconscious. I had to take take a helicopter to the first. I kind of got like put on a spine board and taken to the lifeguard, and like the doctor at the lifeguard or doctor's office. It was like her first or second day, and she was just like, nope, like I cannot deal with this. So got a helicopter, went to the capital city. I a plastic surgeon came in and kind of like repaired. You can see a little bit of a scar on my face. I got stitches in the back of my head, broke a bone in my skull. The weird thing was the whole time in the hospital, I kept saying how bad my feet hurt. And it's kind of like, no, your feet are fine. Your feet are fine. I think they were just more worried about my head and stuff like that. And came back to Canada. My feet were still really bad. They were super swollen, super bruised. So I went to the doctor here and got an x-ray, and the doctor told me, like, you have to go to the hospital. Your feet are like obliterated. So I just had all these small little avulsion fractures just everywhere, like ankles, toes. And then I looked super gnarly because I had like the stitches on my face and all the trauma to my head, like both my eyes turned red from blood draining. So that was like the big traumatic injury. So then it was like, okay, now I know what it's like to get hurt. And maybe being as bold as I was, like, I just realized the risks more now.
What age were you when that happened?
5 years ago. So like fairly old, mid-30s.
Mid-30s, wow.
Yeah, mid to early 30s.
Yeah, you're not, yeah. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you turning up at like a lifeguards tower on a beach with like clearly not sea-related injuries.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Where the fuck does this guy come from?
I can like, there was a lot of it that I just don't remember. It's kind of a big blank space. But I kind of like vaguely remember trying to get up, and it was like, this was my fault. I chose to do that. I need to like walk this off and figure it out. And I tried to get up and was like, no, I cannot get up. So.
And did you, have you had any like lingering things from that?
My ankles don't work super good because of all the scar tissue and whatnot. But like, other than that, pretty good, I think. Like I knock on wood, got away with a lot, but really makes you realize like how bad things can get quick.
In an instant.
Yeah. So now when I think back of some of the climbing stuff I was doing and taking risks, like I got away with it. But if a piece of rock broke or something went wrong, I slipped or didn't grab the correct hold in the correct sequence and fell, like things could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look back at some of my mates who aren't rock climbers, but they have scrambled buildings when drunk on a night out, which is totally unrelated. But I just, now I look back and I'm like, that's absolutely mental. Like how quickly, like, especially when you involve heights, like the
gravity. Yeah,
that can. So if you, well, not to laugh about it, but if you were to take, like, what would be like what was the takeaway that you took from that, apart from just like, thank God I'm alive? Like, was there really any rock climbing takeaway you can get from that, or was it just like
the big takeaway is get travel insurance, I suppose? But
I know.
It's just shit happens, I guess. Like, and there's risk to everything you do.
When you look back in it now, though, do you think like that was like, you obviously were like really confident in yourself to be able to go up and down it, but like looking back in it, were you like, I was actually,
I probably didn't need to do it.
Yeah,
but like, would I do it again? Like, if I was there and like you put me in that spot, like that'd be a tough one, because like the getting up and down, it was totally within my ability had the rock not broken. So
I really just don't know. Yeah.
So that event has definitely impacted how I climb now, and especially how I develop routes now.
In what way?
Because I would never want to put somebody in a situation like that.
Yeah, because I guess you've probably been as close of. You've probably experienced the most severe of consequences without like losing a limb and or your life.
Yeah.
Like it definitely, you would definitely have a different perspective than someone who's never injured themselves.
Yeah.
Like not to compare it to that, but like I've had like a little bit of a chronic back injury for a while, and had it for a couple of years, and before then, if anyone talked to me about like a chronic injury, I'd be like,
how bad could it be? Yeah.
And now that I've had it, it's just like, because now when I talk to people, and I'm like, and we get on the conversation and say they actually understand it, I'm like, someone understands.
Totally.
But if you've never had that experience, like, and I guess taking it back to the rock climbing here, you're never. Yeah, it definitely would change your perspective. So you're obviously saying that you don't want someone to have that experience. So how would that, like, if you were setting a route, how would that, like, could you give me an example of like where that would perhaps change what you're setting?
Yeah, I think I could probably give two really good ones, but it's just like, if you fell here, what would be the consequence? Would you hit a ledge, or would you fall this way? Could where the climbing goes based based off of where the bolts had been set. Could the rope be behind your leg? And you're kind of thinking about all these things as you're developing a route. And then like another kind of like bigger factor is also rock quality. So an example of that is I was working on another route for years. I think it took 5 years to finish it. One of the times when I thought I was done, I climbed it with a friend and he kind of said, yep, great route. It was really good. There's one section with this 30-foot tall rock pillar. He said, that thing is terrifying. If it ever falls out, it'll kill the belayer and the climber. And I'd gone with a crowbar and I'd kind of like put the crowbar in, and if you think of a lever, like grab the end of it. And in my mind, if I couldn't generate enough force with leverage, it would just never come out. And then he said, kind of like, not worth it. If that ever moves, everyone's dead. It's kind of like, okay, you're right. I need to think about this more.
And how often do sections of a rock face come out? Because obviously, was it last summer that the Bow...
Oh, yeah, totally. I know what you're talking about. Is it Bow Summit?
Yeah, up at Bow Summit, Bow Falls, I think it was.
Yeah, you're right.
How often does that? And then obviously, was it not like even a couple of years before that, the Bugaboos, something fell?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Happens more than I care to think about.
Totally. I don't know if it's happening more or there's just, as tourism and outdoor activity grows, we just have more people in all these places more often and taking photos. So you can actually see the change. Like, oh, if I looked at this photo of this area from last year, there wasn't this rock scar, and now there is. So something must have fell. Or like the Bow Summit one where people were there with a camera and saw the whole thing happen.
So you were saying there that you obviously, like, this is your thing, like you actually like take a crowbar and like try and use your own leverage. And if your thing is like, if I can't move it, then it's that's for you is like a good tell.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and my friend kind of like had the wherewithal to kind of set me straight and to say like, I know you think it's fine, but maybe like we're thinking about it again. So,
and when you were saying that, well, like, were you saying there like you don't really know when it's going to go, or you were saying like you don't know if it's happening more often? Like, because like the temperatures are getting warmer generally, I know it's a broad stroke of the brush there, but like, would that lead to rocks coming off more? I'm trying to think, because like, I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the study was done a couple years ago, and I have not read it or looked into it because it was done on granite, so in Yosemite. Okay. When it was getting really hot, there was a lot of rock fall.
Right.
And that's also started to happen in Squamish through the summers. They have predominantly granite around that area, and there's been more rock fall when it gets hot in the summer. We, with our weather patterns, have a lot of the Chinooks, so it'll get really, really warm in the winter. I'm sure you've experienced this, like all of a sudden then get really cold. So if you think of like the freeze thaw of water, right? So it gets hot, some of the snow melts, gets behind some rocks and some cracks, and then freezes. That water, as it does freeze, expands, and that really presses on the rock and can make the rock crumble or fall or break.
Yeah, like even the last couple of days, like in Banff, it's been like maybe like really low, minus like 1s and 2s at night. Yeah. And then like, I mean, it's 18 degrees right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like I think in January, February, we had swings where I bet you it was like 30 degrees in 2 days, where you go from, is it like +8 one day to -30 2 days later? So, yeah, a lot of stuff can break off during that, or just loosen it enough that it'll weaken it, that it gives it the potential to break off later.
And then so with your friend, that was the one that said, if it goes at all, like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So you obviously are conscious of, or let me reframe that. Do you feel a certain level of like responsibility for the safety of people who are coming afterwards to climb it and the experience that they get? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And that's kind of like goes back to my ethic with the developing, where I would rather people just have a good day out. It could still be exciting, but a good day, not like a horrifying day or a death.
Yeah, definitely.
Like having that on your conscience, like that's kind of like the worst case scenario, knowing that like I spent time to put this thing together that someone chose to go spend their day off or their holiday doing, and it could potentially kill them. It's like a terrible idea or terrible thing to think about.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't heard of a lot of stories like that. I've heard of the stories, super unfortunate, where people like rappel off of ropes and trying to like that seems to be the main one that people like.
That's like kind of the most dangerous part of the sport is rappelling. I think psychologically, the day's over, you're done the hard part, which is climbing. You can kind of like switch your brain off and you just go down now, and that's when the accidents happen. But like to kind of like loop this full circle back into the TABVAR conversation, just a week or two ago in Greece, somebody got to the top of a climb, clipped the bolts and went to lower, and both bolts sheared. They were 20-year-old bolts that should have been replaced, and the metal was compromised and they just totally broke. They didn't pull out of the rock, the metal sheared.
Oh God.
And that person did unfortunately die.
Oh, did they? Wow.
So to have something like TABVAR locally that can kind of help update and modernize hardware where it should be modernized and updated, it's huge.
I do think people who rock climb have like a higher level of trust than the average human. And I think in all aspects, like the amount of times that I have been with someone who is like, I'll be like belaying them. And I do rock climb, but not like honestly, like not a ton, but I know what I'm saying is I know what I'm doing. But when I first started doing it and I didn't know what I was doing, they'd be like, yeah, just like do this. And then they would go like lead and set the top rope. And I'd be like, what? Like, why are you just trusting me?
Totally.
Or, like my work does it where we do like rock climbing beginner programs. I'm not a guide, but I'll go out with some of I'll go out in some of the courses just to tag along. And sometimes, usually actually if I go, I will belay them. But like say, for whatever reason I can't do it at the moment, like they'll get like a guest who's on a beginner rock climbing thing who like has never done it. Like, sorry, what I'm kind of getting at here though is like, it does seem that people who rock climb have a higher level of trust. Cause I guess with even the gear, like to have such a trust in the fact that a bolt that has been there for 1, 2, 10 years is, I'm not that trusting.
Yeah. But you are putting like a little bit of blind faith that whoever put that bolt in knows what they're doing and has deemed it solid.
Do you have like TABVAR like stickers or like TABVAR like, cause you know what I'm thinking of, like if I climbed a route though and I had like a TABVAR, you know how like electricians go around and they'll put like a rating on like a plug, I have rated this on the 10th of the 21st of April. Yeah. Like I think if you had that, and obviously there's like weather and stuff.
It comes back to the legality thing.
Oh yeah, true. Sorry.
Yeah. It's weird to think about it now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Cause you can, you're kind of like putting a label on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I do think that people are very trusted. And so obviously you said that you don't set the standard, but do you have, like, is there like a general understanding that like, hey, after 5 years of a bolt being put in, it should be getting checked? Or I guess does that depend on the route, because some routes get high traffic and some routes get no traffic?
Usually, I shouldn't paint it all in a broad stroke, but usually traffic won't really matter because it's not like every person that climbs it's going to fall and impact and weight that bolt. Most of the bolts you clip and people don't fall. It's just there in case, if that makes sense. With the wedge bolts you put in, the ones that don't require glue, that are mechanical, the bolts that were installed about 20, 30 years ago were not the same quality of metal as they are today. So those are kind of they're not, refer to them as almost like ticking time bombs where they should be replaced. So you kind of can like look at a guidebook and we try and as TABVAR, like kind of if there's an area that has a lot of those 30-year-old routes, okay, let's go in and let's go modernize them with proper gear. But then the problem is in another 30 years, we're going to have to do it again. So that's where the glue-in bolts, those things should last forever. That glue and that epoxy that holds the stainless steel metal in should be good for 100 years.
Well, how can it be? Sorry, I want to say, how does it?
Because it seals the hole that you drilled, where with a mechanical bolt, there's nothing to seal off any water or the elements getting inside it.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you have like I talked about the freeze thaw with the Chinooks, and then that piece of metal probably also expands and contracts. So as it's doing this year over year over year, is it weakening the rock touching that hole?
Yeah, I think with the gear, I've just always had that. Again, I'm kind of projecting my own fear of life.
They're kind of the real fears, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm like one of these people that, like, when I'm climbing, like the higher I climb, the more I check my knots.
Yeah.
Funny. Like my friends like, stop check.
Oh, I know. And I do that too. And I shouldn't like even when with my good friends, and I know like they're watching me, they're going to catch me if I fall, and I'll get to a hard part and they're like, okay, I know this part's hard to fall. I'll like check my knot and be like, okay, yes, like I can see that it's good. Like I don't have anything to worry about. And it's probably a bad habit. Just do it on the ground and then don't think about it.
I know, I do. It's funny. Like I remember being at Grassy like a couple of years ago, and there was a guy climbing who was a really good climber, but his, you know, that it was on that like I know that they've got names, I can't remember them, but like the coral wall, as I refer to it. So he was climbing that. He looked really good, but his girlfriend was like, clearly like she was just tagging along to help him. And anyway, like he was like, coming down, and he just like jumped off the wall, and like was, and she, I swear to God, was like plastered.
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine, she was like this, like with the rope getting like yanked up.
Totally. And there's been accidents like that too, where the person climbing can generate enough force in the fall that pulls the layer into the wall. So if they're standing in a poor position, it can physically harm them. It's like an example is like a couple of years ago, someone got sucked into the wall, but then kind of like jumped into the wall with their legs out to brace them from hitting the wall, and just that force broke their femur.
Oh God. Yeah.
So even like it's a skill to belay well and know where to stand and what to do.
Yeah, it was really funny when he came down. He was like, was like none the wiser of this.
Yeah,
like,
I had no clue.
Yeah, and he was like, great job, and she was like raging.
Yeah,
it's quite funny. Like from the, I mean, they obviously probably have a totally normal, fine relationship, but it was quite funny to like watch this moment of this guy having like no awareness of what he had been. Putting his girlfriend through.
I'm sure he learned.
Yeah, and the. So I was trying to think, there was something that popped in my head there with regards to TABVAR, but I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh well, but so the safety aspect of it, so that's obviously something that like TABVAR takes, like, or the people who are setting the routes will like take into account with regards to like their own ethics and how they feel like something is safe. Yeah,
and I think if someone asked for funding for a route and we went out, somebody from TABVAR, the board, or even somebody, a community member went out and said, this thing is a death trap, it would not be funded.
And the people that, so you kind of already alluded to this at the beginning when we were chatting, but, you know, people like yourself and other people who do it, like, why do you feel, or why were you drawn or pulled to building routes as opposed to just, you know, pursuing your own climbing?
That's a good question, because most people just, there's enough routes here that you could climb something different every weekend and never climb the same thing twice. There's tons. I like the adventure of it. I think maybe going back, I used to be into mountain biking when I was a kid and teenager, and then kind of like there's dirt lots by my house and you build jumps and stuff like that, and so you kind of like build the thing and then you ride it, and then getting into climbing, just driving through the mountains, like you look at something like, yeah, like I want to go climb that, like why isn't there a route there? It's kind of like, well, I could go put a route there.
And how do you, so if you're like trying to plan routes, because obviously like there are like quite like a lot of the most like popular places and stuff like that, like will you literally just like find, like look at a map, look at a bit, be like, let's just hike there and see if there is anything there?
Yeah, like sometimes I'm nerding out on Google Maps and like trying to see, is there a picture of it that's a little better, or I'll go on the hiking Facebook groups and I'll search that area, like is there a hiker that's been there with a good camera where I can like download the picture and zoom in and get a better idea of what's there. My big thing is I like doing multi-pitch climbs. Like I haven't really developed anything at a crag. I like to get to the top of a mountain or a bigger cliff. So then there's some too that I've seen from the car and like, okay, that's the thing. And yeah, go and hike. And then it's a little bit of a logistic challenge too. Like how do you get up and down efficiently and make the most out of your time?
And when you're route setting, is it always like done with someone else typically, or could you just go out on your own? I guess it depends on severity.
Yeah. There's totally ways to do it 100% on your own. It's safe. It's not like you're soloing. It's totally fine. It's helpful sometimes to have another person there. Like if you're going up and down to like try sections and use different arrangements of holds to figure out how to do spots, it's nice to have a belayer where they can just lower you and raise you. But there's like new devices and tools come out where you can do that as well just by yourself. I kind of like also having a person come out to get feedback. Like you start to get in this like bias loop where you're like, this is cool, and then someone else tries and like, no, it's not. Maybe cool is the wrong word, but like this is good quality, and then someone else can try and be like, no, it's not. But if they think it's good, maybe then you're onto something.
And have you ever had anyone who, not suggesting that you put in bolts, but have you ever had someone, I can't really ask that question, but I guess I was just going to say, like, have you ever had someone who's climbed something that you're like, had an involvement in?
Yeah, no, I think I know what you're getting at. Yeah. I think I've been lucky where most of the stuff that I've done, I've spent a lot of time and effort and energy into and been able to create something that's generally got a positive feedback. But going way back to what I said kind of at the start of our conversation, it's also like in the eye of the beholder, where just because I liked it doesn't mean that someone else is going to like it. And it's almost like wine that way, right? Like you can like a wine and I'll drink it, or fruit or anything, and say, no, I don't like that, and to each their own.
Yeah, especially what you were saying about people who like fear and people who, or they like that, like touching the edge of fear, and people who don't, like, again, when it comes back to building these experiences for people, someone could do something that if it gives them a sense of fear, they'll be like, I want to do that again. Whereas another person might get the exact same feeling and be like, I never want to do that again.
Totally.
They don't want that.
And some person might say, I never want to do that again, and get home and digest it and go, maybe I do. Yeah. Like, I guess there's all types.
I think I'm that latter person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the kind of person where like in the moment I'll be like, I hate this and that. And then like, afterwards I'll be like, that was kind of...
Yeah, it's like type 2 fun where it's not fun in the moment, but when you think about it after, it's fun. And I think that was my first experience with rock climbing. The first couple times out, I really didn't like heights.
Oh, dude, I hate it.
Yeah, I'd go out and be like, if or when I get off this, never again. And then I get home and be like, no, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I did know that. Honestly, not really that it's a big deal, but I did Gooseberry on Tunnel last summer, and I remember I was doing it with a friend. I was actually doing it as part of a course that my work was doing. I was tagging along.
Cool.
And there's a guy, Sean Renwick, was the guide who he was taking it, and anyway, it was me and one other guest, and it was 3 days. So it was like the first day was like, this is really bad because I should remember this, but effectively it was like 2 days of like rock climbing skills, and then the third day was like a multi-pitch.
Yep.
2 days were leading up to the multi-pitch.
Sure.
And we were doing like crags and Canmore, and I mean, really that was kind of it, but different ones. And, dude, I loved it, but like I hate heights. So like I was just, I wasn't even, most of the stuff, if it was really high, like I wasn't actually getting to the top. And anyway, so the whole time I'm like, I'm not doing the multi-pitch. And I was like telling them this. I was like, I'm not
showing up.
I was saying, I was like, I'm loving this, but I'm like, but actually because there was a paying guest, and I was like, I, as the employee who's tagging along, don't want to be the one who like takes away from this person's thing. Lose the plot and have to bail. And so I was telling them this. I was like, look, I'm like quite fearful of this, but and they're like, just come, like, you'll be fine. Whatever, because it was just, they could see that it was just a psychological thing. But anyway, so remember the morning of, I was like, I'll just go,
rip the Band-Aid off, and
no, I was like, I'll just go, just so that they'll like, I think I'd just been like, right, if I just tell them I'm going, they won't try and talk me out of it, and then when we get to the actual thing of it, I'll bail.
Sure. Okay.
And then anyway, Gooseberry, but as you know, Gooseberry's not really that, it's not that hard, especially when Sean was the one that was pretty much like
telling you what to do.
But anyway, I remember doing that though, and I actually really enjoyed it while I was doing it, which was nice. Like it wasn't like a horrifying experience while I was doing it. Like as I was climbing, I was able to be like, this is actually sweet.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm getting at is like, as someone who's terrified of heights, like that was like quite a type 2 level of fun for me. Like I don't know, like to look back and be like, oh, I can't actually believe I've done that. And to be honest, like to go full circle with the whole conversation is that like I was able to do it because of all the, one, Sean's like amazing guidance, but also like all the, gear and stuff that had been like put in place to like help someone like me to do that. Like it was amazing, really.
100%. Yeah.
And it made me want to like do more, to just put it simply.
And so to hear stuff like that is really rewarding as a developer, and someone comes and has an experience like that. That's pretty cool, I think, that you can impact other people that way.
Oh, dude, like the pictures, it won't be on my phone because I've got like a bunch, but like one of the pictures is on my phone lock screen is like me like halfway up it.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's just like, honestly, just like nothing, something as someone who doesn't actually do a ton of rock climbing and also hates heights.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd do something like that.
Totally.
But again, because of the route and the gear and all that, like I was able to get this experience that was amazing, really. I'm not just saying that.
It's funny though. I think if you stuck with it, that fear goes away. It's just your exposure to it, like almost like hot sauce, right? Like if you hate hot sauce, but you start with mild, you can slowly work your way up, where maybe it's terrifying the first time, and the more you dabble in it, it slowly goes away. I think that's kind of how I stuck with it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like even, like I rock climb enough now that if I was just to go on a random day, I'd be fine. But at the beginning, I would notice that, like, just say I went to EP where we are just now, like at the beginning of the day of climbing or the morning or whatever, like I'd be quite nervous. And then by the afternoon, after we'd done like numerous laps, I would be told, I wouldn't be checking the knot, wouldn't be like, get my Blair to like triple check it for the 100th time. Like even in the span of a day, it would like kind of like mellow me out more.
Totally. Yeah.
But so you're more, so would you say like I don't want to put you in a niche, but like is your thing more like multi-pitch climbing?
It used to be, and I climbed a lot of multi-pitches, and now I'm kind of enjoying cragging more, just trying harder at the shorter cliffs, but I still like developing the multi-pitch stuff. I think we have a lot of open real estate for routes like vertically where we might not horizontally here, if that makes a little bit of sense. Like I think a lot of the crags are not totally tapped out, but there's just way more open real estate for multi-pitches.
I mean, so a crag is like when you're just like, I don't know how would you explain a crag? Sorry.
In a broad sense, a crag could be like a mountain with multiple routes, but most people think about it as a single pitch climbing wall. So it's like you can get up and down in a single rope length. You're not ascending multiple rope lengths upward, and that there's kind of multiple routes side by side. And I think that's pretty enjoyable because you can just show up with a backpack. You can have tons of food, your coats, you can be comfortable, have water, go up, come down whenever you want. Where when you do the multi-pitch, you're a little bit more committed, and it can be less of a type 1 fun day. But then you get the rewarding experience of like, we endured through this and got to the top, and that's rewarding in its own.
And you obviously, when I was asking about like more accident stories, you alluded to the one of this quite severe one you had, but I feel like a lot of people I talk to, like Sarah and other people that we know who have rock climbed, everyone seems to have had like a generally similar experience where like they got stuck on a climb overnight. Is that, have you had that?
No, never.
Oh, wow.
No.
Right, okay, you're like one of the few, because I feel like anytime I talk to someone, they're like, yeah, we thought it was going to be a day.
Totally.
We got stuck. We like hallucinated through.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear all the horror stories. Yeah. I got, I think, close-ish once, and then after that kind of just learned to not underestimate things. And this is going back to that, the grades a long time ago are not what they are today. So I bought a guidebook for the mountain Yamnuska and opened it, and the one climb I think was like a 5-6, and was like, oh, that's super easy. Like 5-6. I've never climbed trad on gear before or whatever. I can just buy it, and it's pretty much like I'd done 5-6s in the gym, so it's like soloing, and I can just practice placing gear as I go up, and it ended up being way more than I bargained for. And I think this was also in February or March. The days were really, really short. There wasn't a lot of sunlight, and we kind of just got to the top of the mountain as the sun was starting to get low, but had one or two more things gone wrong, it would have been bad.
And how can you climb Yamnuska in February? Because I naively just assumed they'd be covered in snow.
Yeah, it's the Chinooks.
Right,
it's a totally south-facing mountain. So funny enough, I had another friend that suggested like, well, the route development thing is a ton of work, and it takes a toll on your bodies and it takes a lot of time. You're just carrying heavy stuff and metal and the drill and the regular climbing stuff. So I had a friend suggest, like, why don't you just bundle up and do it in the winter, and then you'll have something to climb in the summer. I was like, that's genius. Like,
that is quite genius.
I was like, I'll give it a shot. So I started thinking, like, okay, is there anything south facing? And I was like, oh, Yamnuska. And there was kind of a line I was looking at. So I've spent the last 2 winters developing a rock climb. And I'll just, if it's a sunny day and it's not that cloudy, it's got direct sun, and I wear a couple coats and hiking boots and just rappel and figure out where the climbing goes. And I've kind of worked on that for the last 2 winters.
Wow. So how's it going?
I finished it and climbed it in February.
Wow.
Yeah, which was super cool to like actually also climb it in the winter. It's like a winter development project and winter ascent.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And did you name it?
Yeah, that one's called Life in Color.
Life in Color, nice.
Yeah.
How do you come up with the names?
There's a bunch of pretty famous routes in that section of the mountain that one's red shirt, blue jeans, and brown trousers. So it's kind of like paying homage to those former
That's kind of
routes.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the colorful experience. Like there's a lot of days I spent out there alone. Some days like snowstorms would roll in and I'd be like just swinging around on a rope in the mountain, and you're in a blizzard, and it's like the colorful experience of being out there.
That is definitely type 2 fun.
Yeah.
If there's ever a type 2 fun snowstorm.
It's like super like gripping the first time, and you kind of like do it a couple of times. You're like, oh yeah, it's like a blizzard's going to roll through again. And I know that I can just rappel down, and
So you will come down, you don't just crack on?
kind of depends how cold I'm getting. Yeah, as soon as you lose the sun, it starts to suck a lot more.
Brutal,
yeah, especially if you're hanging in a harness and then you're cutting off circulation to your feet. Most of the time I'd just be wearing hiking boots because they're warmer, but if it was a little warmer out and I could put on climbing shoes, I'd actually like try to do climbing as well. But the climbing shoes just being tight would not help with circulation, and your feet just get super cold. So
you've just finished that one. Have you already got like another one that you're looking into? Or
unfortunately, it's like always ongoing. Yeah. Or in my head, it was like, I'll finish. My goal is always to do one a year. If I can publish and develop and put out one multi-pitch a year, I'm psyched. And in my head, I was like, that's the one. I'm done for the year. And then I've kind of been looking at this other thing. And then another buddy who's like keen on it too. He's like, yeah, let's go. Like, you just finished that. Let's do this. It's like, I want a break, but it's good fun. So
yeah. And have you ever had anything that you have built in a book? Like you've bought like a rock climbing guidebook, and you're like, oh my God, there's
just one.
Yeah. What was that like? Must be quite cool. Or were you just like that?
I think it was really cool at the time, and now it's like one of the, not that I'm not proud of it, but just the smaller things. I think I've done things that I feel more accomplished about since that one, and there just hasn't been a guidebook printed. So
yeah, and then so you kind of so you were saying there that you try and do one multi-pitch a year, but Sarah was also saying, and I don't know if that was what she was referring to, or she refers to like all the routes that you've set, but she was saying that you have probably set up more routes in the last 2 to 3 years than anyone in this area. I was going to ask you what.
Ooh, yeah, I don't actually know. Not for cragging. There's some other guys that are really getting after it, but it's a lot simpler of an endeavor when you're at a crag, because you've got all the stuff. You do one climb, you can just like walk over 6 feet and rappel down and do another one. The logistics aren't quite as challenging, but maybe for the multi-pitch stuff, I'm not 100% sure.
And would you say, like, say that you are one of the people who are like consistently putting up like a lot of routes in the last couple of years? Is that like quite like, is it quite intentional? And what I mean by that is, like, are you intentionally trying to do like a ton of them, or do you just like love it so much that you just happen to do a ton of them?
Maybe a bit of both. Like, I'd say the one a year because I know in my head there's like a list of things that I want to go look at and do, where I think from the highway or photos that I've seen or other climbs where I think it looks like it has the potential to be good. So there's like a list of stuff that I could be doing forever, but if I could just do one a year, I'm happy. But it doesn't feel like I'm forcing it. Like I have to do it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. And is your partner like quite what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Like, do they support you in your rock climbing
totally.
obsession?
Yeah. It's kind of...
Are they a rock climber?
Yeah. Not nearly as obsessive as I am about it. It's kind of fun. We're like all go out and have these big days developing and kind of talk about like, you get like totally sucked into your own projects. Like, I found this hold today, and you grab it like this, and then you can, and you just like go into detail talking about it. So I'll have a big day out and tell her all about it. And then when I finish the project, often we'll go climb it together after the fact. And like, she kind of, I think, wants to see like what it is that I've spent all this time in it.
Yeah. Where have you been?
Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah. So she's psyched on that after the fact. And I would kind of like to maybe show her how to develop climbs. And if she's into it, that's cool. And if she's not, that's cool too. But it's something that I'm passionate about and spent a lot of time doing, obviously.
And if obviously you're one of the people that are building the routes, and then people can reach out to TABVAR to get the route that they have climbed the funds for that.
Yeah.
With you potentially being the first person to climb these routes, do you have to get someone else to verify? Or can you just be like,
it?
Yeah. Can you just be like, I did it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But, and that's where it comes, it's like one thing to maybe, get funding for it, but in like, there's a bit of like an unwritten rule in rock climbing of like the ethics around it. So to actually like claim that like I have ascended it, you have to go from top to bottom without waiting the rope. So that's where the two veins differ. Are you saying you were the first person to climb it to secure your funding, or are you saying you climbed it because you actually climbed it?
And see, with regards to like ethics and climbing, do you like something that's always, I mean, this is kind of like a little bit of a step away from route sitting here, but like something that I've always found interesting with like climbing and say like alpinism in general, or like alpinism's a whole different thing, but those things, like if someone just says that they did something, obviously in this day and age, there's a lot of like, you can get like proof, like pictures, videos of whatever, like routes. I guess you probably get a Garmin that like tracks your route or whatever. But if you didn't have access to any of those things, like when someone says I did something, like how do you know whether they actually did it or not?
Yeah. So that is kind of like the unwritten rule, is just be honest about what you did and the style you did it in. There's a famous story that goes way back to this ascent in Patagonia called now the compressor route. And that's like a whole other topic, but basically somebody lied about what they said they did. And then someone said, well, like prove it, do it again. And it was a lot more difficult to go and do it again than the person might have thought.
And did they do it again? Or sorry,
kinda, yeah.
Right.
That's a whole other story. No, it's good. But now with like, I think up to a certain difficulty, no one will really question it. But if it becomes cutting edge, then it's kind of like you want to be able to verify it, maybe, or just like who belayed you? Can someone else back that up, that claim?
And I would assume that you get to like a certain level of grade where like the pool of people gets like smaller the higher the grade goes, or the harder the grade goes, I guess. So I guess there's like, the people who get to that bit, like if you got like a random, say me, like if you got a random person who's like not really known in the community, and I'm like, oh, I just did that like 5 impossible. Yeah. You'd be like, who the fuck are you? Like,
and that's happened before. And it's like, who belayed you? And it's like, oh, this guy, I don't know. I'm going to get a phone where it's like, yeah, okay, well, you probably didn't do that.
Yeah. It'd be quite funny.
And now everyone has a phone too, right? Like it's pretty easy. Like, so there's like a famous boulder that says like, you kind of, for bouldering, especially because it's so close to the ground and the logistics aren't as challenging. Like if you don't have it on film, then we might not believe it. Like it's pretty easy to just put your phone down and film it.
And then I guess there's also those people out there who probably don't care about people knowing. Yeah. Like, again, this is like a deeper issue or topic as well, where like everything nowadays is, I mean, like look at what we're doing right now. Like it's obviously filming, but everything nowadays is so, what's the word? Is so captured. Yeah. That you obviously get people who are like, I actually don't really care if anyone knows that I did this thing. And they're just like,
yeah,
if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't. Yeah. But I think, I've always found that quite curious. That it's, again, maybe just from my lack of being in the community too deeply, like it just seems that it's such a a trusting thing. It's quite funny as well in that. So my girlfriend and I went to the Night of Lies, which it was a mutual friend, sorry, not a mutual friend, a friend had invited me to he ended up not going, but he was like, when I got there, I actually recognised quite a lot of people, but for the first like little while, I actually didn't know anyone. I was only going because my friend invited me. But anyway, when my girlfriend and I were there, I was like, I feel like we've just like somehow been invited to like, and I don't mean this in the negative context, but I was like, I feel like we've just like interrupted like a cult meeting. Yeah. Because I was like, how do all these people know each other? And I know them from different walks of life, from like, they go to the gym, they go like the IGA, like, and I was like, they've all come together. And
totally.
Like,
everyone in their Patagonia jackets.
Yeah, everyone. And I was wearing Patagonia as well, which is quite funny.
I feel a little bad whenever I have like a bunch of climbing friends with me and there's a friend who doesn't climb, because usually all the climbing friends talk about is climbing, and they just geek out so hard. And I get it. It's exciting. And you talk about routes you've done and like specific holds or movements, and the person that doesn't climb is just like, what are you guys talking about? And they have no way to relate to the conversation. So
yeah, I've definitely done that. I try to be conscious of that if I especially because obviously like this is such a multicultural place. I mean, I'm not from here, so like a friend and I may be talking about like the soccer back home, and I've got like a Canadian friend who's not got a fucking clue what I'm talking about. I will consciously be like, oh, like there's this thing going on, it's like this big tournament or whatever, because there's nothing worse when you're with people and they have zero, what's the word I'm looking for, they have zero
background interest, knowledge,
or like awareness. So it's like if you're the person that like, so you're with people and they're talking and you're just sitting there, then they don't have the awareness to be like, I'll bring Matthew or Richard in this, even though. But yeah, it was quite cool going in the Night. I was also like awesome, like it was really, really fun. Yeah. And then you got am I right in saying was it the Golden Crowbar Awards?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Did you? And obviously, like, so I think it was Stephen was the guy who was kind of like the emceeing of that specific portion of the night. And kind of what I took away from what he was saying was that he was making quite a effort to emphasize the fact that route setters don't get the recognition that he thinks that they deserve. Would you agree with that statement, do you think?
That's maybe a hard one to answer because I have a bias because I am a route setter, but I don't think most of the people understand how much work goes into it.
Well, you were saying that you've had like multiple days just doing...
Oh yeah, like a single rope length.
Or a couple of years as well.
Yeah, like that one project. And it wasn't like I was there every day for 5 years, but it kind of took 5 seasons to get it done. And there's guys that have had projects that have lasted much longer. This thing I was working on for the last couple winters before it got super cold and wintry, kind of like in October, I'd drive out after work and run up the mountain with a crowbar, and then I'd go along the base of the wall to make sure there was no backpacks or anybody climbing, and then run up to the top and I could like crowbar off loose rock for an hour before it got dark, and then come back to the car and drive home. I guess it's a lot of thankless work. And then I think the kind of negative connotation sometimes is people will say like, well, why don't you do it this way? Or why is this here? Why is it like this? It could be better if it was like this. So you just hear the criticism. But I think in the back of your head, you kind of have to know for everyone critique, there's a bunch of people who have not said anything that probably enjoy it.
I think there's also a way of giving critique as well. Like if you have put a lot of like time and effort into something and someone just very unawittingly just like pointed out all like, why'd you do that? Like you should have done it this way, blah, blah, blah. Like you'd be like, well, you fucking go do it then.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So like there's another climb that I finished recently, and then a girl came up to me in the gym and she had great things to say about it, but then had a critique, and I was like, well, you can go do that. and then I kind of did the math in my head, and I was like, the thing you're asking me to do is like financially cost $300. Like, have you donated anything to the existing hardware, or would you pay for this thing that you're asking for?
And did you say that, or were you just thinking that?
I didn't think about it till after. I was like, I should have said that. Like it's a great teaching point where it's like people just, every one of those bolts that you clip is roughly $7. So if a climb has 10 bolts and an anchor that cost $30, it's $100. And most people just don't know the price of the hardware. So I think it could have been a good teaching point. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, you just go do it if you want it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it goes both ways. Like, as in, like someone can critique something that you or anyone has done, but it's just the way in which they do it. Like, if they're like, hey, this is like amazing, not like just like bullshitting you, but like, they're like, hey, it's amazing. An idea would, like, what would, even like just asking you, be like, what would you think if you'd done it that way? As opposed to being like, you should have done it that way. Yeah. Because then I feel like you automatically get like a defensive.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or just even instead of saying, why didn't you do it this way? You could say, why did you do it the way you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times there's a reason for it. Whether it's financial or in terms of development, like rock quality or like the style you were going for, or
yeah, and I think as well, the other way that you were saying about, like teaching her, because again, you could have said it in such a way that is like, didn't come across as being defensive, where you're just saying to her like, hey, like it's actually quite a lot of money to, like, did you realize that a bolt is X amount? And
yeah, exactly.
I don't think, again, like I know we've touched on it already, but I just really don't, and I'm saying this probably because I am this person, hopefully not so much now. People just don't appreciate like the time and effort, and sometimes they're just literally not educated on.
Totally.
And again, that's me. Like, I'm not educated on how much like a thing costs, the time, I can. If you had said to me that you could put up like 10 bolts in a day in the morning, I'd probably be like, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah,
because I've got no concept.
Yeah, there's no grasp for it. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That's kind of what I'm trying to help out with TABVAR, is the educational component. Is just explain to people the time and the effort and the financial perspective, and even hiking the bolts, they're way heavier than you think they are.
Oh, like hiking them in?
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
And then like, do you ever hike in with bolts and you're like, I hope to God I could put these all in so I don't have to hike back with them?
Usually I'll like undercommit until I'm sure.
Right, okay, yeah.
And then if I have to come back multiple times, I'll kind of just hike a few more, and do it in portions.
And then when you're talking about the like educational with TABVAR, so like what kind of like, obviously you did the Mellow Film Tour, which I guess was more of like a fundraising thing for the so I keep want to refer to it as like the illegal underground rock climbing club, but the like, what kind of educational stuff can people find if they want to find?
I guess by educational, I mean like even just who we are and that we exist.
Okay, right, cool.
And then so that's where, although the film tour thing was a good fundraiser to raise a little bit of money.
That was awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. Even people saying, "Oh, TABVAR is putting it on. Who's TABVAR?" and they Google it. That's a great start. Where then they kind of just know.
Yeah, we
understand.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't know what or who or. Yeah, I didn't know what or who TABVAR was, but it's just like,
so it worked. Yeah,
they obviously like get to like chat to say that, and then I was chatting to Al a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And then again, and I embarrassingly just didn't want to ask them like specifically what I kind of knew. Like I knew it was to do with rock climbing. I knew there was like a route. I knew it was involved in routes, but I guess I was just like a little bit embarrassed to just be like, what actually is it? Whereas when you were coming, I was like, that's the guy to ask.
Yeah. And I think I heard in one of the other podcasts you did too, where you said something about like maybe being at the gym and worried about like people looking at you and like judging you. And it's this thing where like, if you're on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, I don't want to like ruffle the feathers or ask a dumb question. But I think for most people that are into it are like, no, we want to teach you and educate you and tell you about it. And, knowledge is power.
Yeah, I would definitely say as I get older, I actually, even though I'm kind of contradicting literally what I just said, like I am better, not perfect, but I'm a lot better at just being like, I don't actually know what that is. Can you tell me?
Totally.
But there is definitely that aspect, like the Night of Lies, say for example, like especially when you're in like a kind of group setting where like obviously like it's not specific. I mean, the Night of Lies can be anything really, and you want it to be, because obviously this like Barry's thing was all about like the multiple injuries he's had. So it's not necessarily just about rock climbing.
Yeah.
But when you're in that kind of group setting where like everyone has a pretty like fairly good understanding of something, like I'll be honest, like I didn't want to be the one to be like, so what is?
Yeah. Why am I here?
Yeah.
No, I get that. Yeah, because you kind of take the like leap of faith and stand out. And
why was the award Golden Crowbar.
Yeah. So it's a play off of, this is the first year it's been rolled out. It's a play off of a thing that Squamish started years ago for a similar route development appreciation, where they did the golden scrub brush. So because they're on the coast and it's so humid, they kind of have like lichen and moss that grows everywhere. So a lot of their route development is just like scrubbing off dirt and moss. So that was their kind of award. And then we as TABVAR thought about it and thought like, what if our thing is like prying off loose rocks? So what if we did the Golden Crowbar?
I mean, it looked quite hefty.
Yeah, a local guy, Ray, we kind of said that we wanted to do it, and he's like, I'll make the trophy. So it looked really good now. He did a great job.
Yeah. And is it like an actual piece of rock?
Yeah.
It's like,
two golden crowbars sticking out, and there's like little plaques for names. So,
oh, so you don't get to keep it?
It's in my garage right now.
It's not above your mantelpiece, no?
Yeah. More so, just so if I go to do an event representing TABVAR, I can have that out, and it's kind of like a great conversation piece. Like, what is that thing? And it's another way to like talk about it and explain it. And that's why we came up with the idea for the award. It's great to appreciate the route developers, but it was an educational thing too. So if people go to vote on what route is their favorite, then it kind of takes them like one layer deeper into what it is that we're doing.
And do you have a competition where people can vote for like which route of the year is their favorite?
That's how I won it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, was it?
Apologies. Yeah, it was like a voting thing. Yeah.
Sorry, apologies. I thought you just okay, cool.
Yeah, so hopefully, I can't remember how many people voted this year, but hopefully next year, like more people are aware of it and vote. And TABVAR has a map on their website, I believe, where it shows all the things that were done the year prior. So it's like that's kind of what the pool of things you can vote on.
And the with regards to like recognition and stuff like that, like say that award on that night, is that something that you care for? And I mean by that is like, do you care that you get the recognition, or are you just like, I would do this anyway?
Oh, I would do it anyways. Yeah. Like all the stuff that was being voted on was from the year prior, and at that time the award didn't exist. It's cool to get some recognition, and I think it's even better to know that it's being appreciated by way of people having like days out and they were enjoyable. Like I think people wouldn't have voted for it if they had a day out and said this was horrible. So it's kind of like, yeah, people are enjoying what I do, and that's good to know.
Yeah. It must be some sense of what's the word?
It was like pride or accomplishment. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, even though that's not the purpose of you doing it. Like if someone's giving you like a pat on the back, it's like sweet. Yeah, that's actually like a nice like cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it's like it's great to hear from people that have climbed it and enjoyed the routes. Like a total stranger could come up to me. It's like it's pretty cool that I did something that gave a total stranger that I don't know like a day out where they had an adventure.
Do you have any like do you have any beginner routes? I'm trying to think that I could do. That I could teach you, be like, that was terrible, never do that.
And beginner's a hard thing to answer because I know people that have climbed what I think is very difficult in their first year. So yeah, I think most of the stuff that I've done so far is kind of like in the 5-10 and up range.
Okay, right, cool, yeah. Right, okay, cool. Where, if you had one that you were going to suggest, what would it be?
It would kind of depend on like maybe the grade, but there's one that me and a local guy, Andrew Slutwag from Banff, worked on Castle Mountain. And prior to that, there wasn't really any full sport climbs on Castle Mountain. There was one that was like a total iconic test piece. I think it was 514 or mid 14. So like really, really hard. But there wasn't a moderate sport climb on this like totally iconic mountain. So we did this one called Bastion on that mountain.
Bastion? Yeah. How do you, is it Bastion?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's, you do the hike to the fire lookout. And as soon as you get to the fire lookout, you look up and there's this kind of like protruding tower that sits off of the lower cliff man face, but it almost looks like an overhanging tower. And it's one of the things that like, as soon as we saw, we're like, that is it. But you look at it and you're like, there's no way that's 510. We thought it was going to be way more difficult. And as we started to kind of like look at it closer, like everything was pretty moderate.
So I'll be convincing my girlfriend she'll probably listen to this, but I'll be convincing her.
Then she'll know.
Yeah. She's I think as well, like, we're two people who, we just haven't ever, like, this wasn't our backgrounds, but anytime we do any kind of rock climbing, like, it is amazing. Like,
totally. Yeah. And the ACC just put a new hut up there too. So,
did they?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's super cool. Like, it's on the do you know, like, what Castle Mountain looks like?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so there's, like, the plateau between the upper and lower tiers. Yeah, and the hut's on the middle tier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Castle Mountain, like, I'm just thinking of the hike, because I quite like that hike, because it's kind of like two completely different things. Like, one's just like a super mellow hike.
Like a walk almost.
Yeah, walk to the lake. And then the second one, even though it's not necessarily, like, actually that hard, like, you go up into this, like, pretty, like, open plateau.
Oh, yeah.
Like, quite exposed. And I actually quite like that they were both, like, like, in the one hike.
The views for either are great.
Yeah. And so with regards to TABVAR, is there any TABVAR related stuff coming up? Like events or?
We do a thing every spring called we like loosely refer to it as the Route Developers Roundtable. And we kind of just invite everyone who is a current or aspiring or former route developer. And we have like loose topics that we talk about. There's like a few like check boxes, like just things that are going on with TABVAR that people should be aware of. And then there'll be like a topic, and we kind of will break that down within the group and get input from people on how we can do things within the community. So that's coming up this June, I think.
And how do people get into that? Do you just reach out to people who've
like all the developers that are on the developer mailing list will get an email, and then I think we usually put it on the Facebook and like social media type stuff too. Like, hey, if you're interested in this, come and learn or sit and hear what we have to discuss.
Nice. And have you got any more fundraisers coming up? Or plans in general?
Yeah, nothing straight away. I think normally TABVAR helps out with the Real Rock tour when that comes to Arts Place, and I think that's not happening till November this year.
Okay, well,
it's not a spring release, so that's still a bit away.
And if someone wanted to like help donate to TABVAR, like where would they do that?
Yeah, so if they just go to the website, I think it's tabvar.org.
I can link it.
Or just Google it. Yeah. There's a section on the site where you can donate. You can donate $1, you can donate $100. We have I don't want to call it a promotion, but like if you donate $100, you fall under this super supporter category. So you're able to get discounts at Mech, Vertical Addiction, and Minodes.
Wow.
So it's kind of like you're helping us, but there's a little bit of a kickback too.
Okay,
so,
nice.
Yeah, huge shout out to the local shops that have stepped up to offer that discount.
Okay, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
What has been the like largest donation you've ever had, if you know?
There is a local guy who I think has a software company, and I think he donates like $5,000 every year.
Wow.
Which is massive. Like that goes a long way.
Yeah. I always feel like there's always like one random, not to like randomize that guy, but like there's always
just someone
there's always someone
big.
who just
totally
like,
yeah. And it's that goes a long way. And I think because I'm passionate about it and like talk about it with my friends too, like like bug them to donate.
Yeah. I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of like, I mean, that's a lot of money to be able to donate year on year.
Totally.
Does this, not to like, does this person, like, are they a really keen climber, or are they just like?
They are a climber, yeah.
They are, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I believe they live locally as well, but I have not met them, so I can't say for certain.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Well, look, before I let you go here, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think would be good to know, or that you would like to chat about?
No, I think we've kind of gone like full circle on a lot of things and then uncovered a lot. I think, if people are listening to this and want to get involved, just reach out on the website, whether they have the capacity to donate or want to get into route development themselves. But there's so much to do out here in our mountains, and go explore and enjoy it.
And so you've got the website, and is there anything else? Is there like an Instagram or Facebook? Right?
There's both, yeah.
Is there both? Yeah. And is it just, I would assume they're just TABVAR.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
it's a pretty weird acronym. So if you...
I mean, like, that'd be like one of the ones where you're like making an Instagram account and you're like,
what? Someone took it? Yeah, no. Yeah, I think we're the only people that want to use that one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Matthew, but like, honestly, thank you so much for sitting down. And even though I don't rock climb a ton. Like, thank you for being one of those unsung heroes who actually puts the time and effort into, creating these, whether it's routes or experiences that people like me and everyone else gets to actually go and climb.
Thanks for taking the time as well. Yeah, appreciate being here.